Germany was granted an armistice instead of being forced to unconditional surrender, Carl Schmitt never saw Allied soldiers marching through his capital. Instead, the German army home again after the armistice, bands playing, colors flying. Like the army of Frederick the Great, like Bismarck's army. Certainly not like a conquered army. Why then had Germany signed an armistice, Carl Schmitt asked himself. Why, a year and a half later, what he called the Shame Treaty of Versailles? Why was Germany, in his judgment an undefeated Germany, accepting the penalties of defeat? Bitter, sorry for himself, Carl Schmitt was looking for a scapegoat. He found one. The one the German war leaders had always planned that he should find. Carl Schmitt never blamed the men who had caused the war. Instead, he blamed the men who had signed the peace. Thus, in Carl Schmitt's distorted thinking, the ill-fated German Republic meant a bunch of traitors that had stabbed the fatherland in the back. And the general staff, the great landowners, the industrialists, the state officials smiled contentedly. Not only had they escaped blame themselves, but they had smeared the idea of democracy in Germany. It was a blow from which it would never recover. Carl Schmitt would go back to the old tradition.
Hitler, out. Swastikas, gone. Nazi propaganda, off the air. Concentration camps, empty. You'll see ruins. You'll see flowers. You'll see some mighty pretty scenery. Don't let it fool you. You are in enemy country. Be alert. Suspicious of everyone. Take no chances. You are up against something more than tourist scenery. You are up against German history.
The moral of this Nazi fairy tale seems to be that Hitler got Germany on her feet, climbed into the saddle, and took her for a ride.
It isn't good. This book was written chapter by chapter, not by one man, not by one Führer. It was written by the German people. Chapter 1. The Führer, Bismarck. The title, Blood and Iron. The new Führer, Kaiser Wilhelm. New title, Deutschland über alles. Germany over all. And the same tender German people who smacked us with their World War I against Serbia, Russia, France, Belgium, Italy, Britain, and the United States of America. It took all of us to do it, but we finally knocked that Führer out. Defeated the German armies. Führer number 3. Slogan number 3. Today, Germany is ours. Tomorrow, the whole world.
Oh, hell, this is where we came in.
Yeah. This is where we came in.
And chapter 4?
Could be. It can happen again.
if you want to say fuck you, you say fick dich. This is the cat sound.
Particularly against this group. These are the most dangerous. German youth. Children when the Nazi Party came into power. They know no other system than the one that poisoned their minds. They're soaked in it. Trained to win by cheating. Trained to pick on the weak. They've heard no free speech. Read no free press. They were brought up on straight propaganda. Products of the worst educational crime in the entire history of the world. Practically everything you believe in, they have been trained to hate and destroy. They believe they were born to be masters, that we are inferiors, designed to be their slaves. They may deny it now, but they believe it, and will try to prove it again. Don't argue with them. But which ones? Just one mistake may cost you your life. Trust none of them. Someday the German people might be cured of their disease. The super race disease. The world conquest disease. But they must prove that they have been cured, beyond the shadow of a doubt, before they ever again are allowed to take their place among respectable nations. Until that day, we stand guard.
In 1948, Babe Ruth, the Great Bambino, the Sultan of SWAT, dies. Babe Ruth had 60 home runs in the season and 714 home runs all time. Babe Ruth was German. Director A. Lyon had reported in 1950 that many people at Lakeland Asylum shouldn't be there. Among them, a 103-year-old black man who had been committed to Lakeland Asylum because he had spit on a courthouse stove. On July 11, 1950, Ferdinand Grubschover dies. Ferdinand had been confined to a wheelchair in the last throes of his life. Ronald Grubschover, the first, played checkers and Chinese checkers with Ferdinand Grubschover. Ferdinand was 87 years old. In 1957, after serving in World War II, Elvis Presley records Teddy Bear. Vernon Preston, Elvis's father, was German. In 1958, St. Pius X Church was the new home of the Holy Guardian Angels, donated by Bernard Grubschover, a.k.a. Barney VI, and his brother, Lawrence Grubschover, both of whose parents were Bernard Grubschover V, one of the OGs, and Mary Margaret Bills. Bernard Grubschover VI and Lawrence Grubschover donated a 20-acre tract of land where St. Pius X Church sits today, in Crestview Hills on Dudley Pike in Edgewood, Kenton County, Kentucky. The streets of the surrounding areas around St. Pius X Catholic Church are named after three of the children of Barney V and Mary Margaret Bills. You have Catherine Drive, Lawrence Drive, and Bernard Drive. In the early 1960s, the state of Kentucky began funding a $3 million plan to modernize Lakeland Asylum. On August 8, 1962, Catherine Kate Grubschover dies, most likely at Central State Asylum for the Insane in Anchorage, alone, stuck in a mental hospital. In 1963, JFK is assassinated. By the 1970s, much of the original farmland in Sanford Town had become industrial or commercial property. The construction of I-275 in the 1970s completed the demise of the area as a residential and farming community.
On November 22nd, 1973, 10 years to the day of the JFK assassination, 18-year-old Anthony Aloysius Grubschover dies in a car wreck for reasons unknown while driving on Richwood Road, Kentucky 338, a few miles from Union, Kentucky, in his brand new 1973 Gremlin on Thanksgiving Day. Tony had been kicked out of the house by his father for purchasing the Gremlin, and he was living with his sister at the time. Alcohol was on the scene, and he was riding with William Rich of Union, who is still alive today. Tony Grubschover's mother, Teresa, had died 3 months prior, on August 31st, 1973. On July 1st, 1977, on a Memorial Day weekend, for reasons unknown, possibly arson, 50-year-old Clarence Gripshover died in the Beverly Hills Supper Club fire in Southgate, Kentucky, which ended up killing 165 people. The Beverly Hills Supper Club is the third deadliest nightclub fire in U.S. history. Clarence Gripshover was at the Beverly Hills Supper Club celebrating Josephine Carlson's retirement from St. Elizabeth Hospital, Sanfordtown, Kentucky. 7 of their party of 8 would perish that night. Eddie Gripshover, Clarence Gripshover's son, was washing dishes in the kitchen and ran to the showroom when he heard about the fire to warn his father, but it was too late. Even though Clarence Gripshover survived that night, Clarence was critically injured and he died after suffering great agony several weeks later. Nobody was ever held responsible for the deaths of the victims, not even the Beverly Hills Supper Club corporate owners. 1977, Old Kentucky State Hospital, located in Danville, Kentucky, was closed. A cremation oven was next to the graveyard, and it stayed there until 1982, until Old Kentucky State Hospital became a state prison. Briefly before becoming a state prison, Old Kentucky State Hospital was Danville Youth Development Center, a juvenile detention center. On February 8th, 1982, Jonathan Daniel Masters Gripshover, the Gripshover Golden Child, Black Bohemian of the Sudetenlands, Austrian, Bavarian, Prussian of the Sanfordtown, Kentucky German-American Gripshover lineage, from the Barney Gripshover, the 5th lineage, and Ferdinand Gripshover lineage, which getting a double dose of Gripshover blood and a mysterious 11% African blood, is born in Sanfordtown in Kenton County, which is named after Simon Kenton, who was Simon Girty's blood brother, at St. Elizabeth Hospital in northern Kentucky. The rebel of rebels.
Welcome and congratulations. We also welcome your families and your friends to this special occasion. This is our 4th commencement at the KFC Young Center. We're honored that a number of community leaders and several members of the University of Louisville's Board of Trustees, Board of Overseers, Alumni Association.
Jonathan hyphenates Gripshover into his last name in order to honor his mother's family, just as the Catholic Mexicans do. Jonathan lived in Boone County for 1 year as a baby, and then he was raised on a farm in Ghent, Kentucky, and went to school in Warsaw, Kentucky as a child. Ghent is a Belgian name, and Warsaw is a Polish name, which signifies an Eastern European culture along the banks of the Ohio River. In 1983, Ronald Reagan bombs the little Latin American country of Grenada. To this day, ironically, Grenada celebrates October 25th as their Thanksgiving Day, even though the rural folks don't. In 1983, North Point Prison becomes a reality when Governor John Y. Brown turned the Danville Youth Development Center into the North Point Training Center, which is a medium security prison located near Danville, Kentucky. It opened in 1983, and the prison had a capacity of 1,256 as of 2006. The Department of Corrections received control of the property, consisting of 551 acres and approximately 50 structures, in January of 1983.